lot of people are actually trying to avoid these triggers and avoid their trauma. They can now put their finger on it and they can now say, oh, well, this is a trigger for me, or this is a trauma that I have. But how are we actually moving through those triggers and those traumas, I think is like the biggest, most important question. Because we can't be trigger free, we can't be trauma free. It just, life doesn't work like that. I think that we do have a lot more flexibility and a lot more resources now that we can simply avoid all of that stuff. We can like move out of where we live. We can avoid, like block certain people completely out of our lives. Like we can do all of these things to just totally avoid triggers and traumas. But I actually think the true important work is dealing with those triggers and traumas. And what I've been observing a lot and just like things I see online or in just different communities that I'm in is that oftentimes people just say, oh, I'm not dealing with it. I'm not dealing with that. This is like a trigger for me and I don't want to deal with it. So I personally have also been in that space. I think when I went to like Thailand and really just kind of was like in a very good space, I didn't want to go back to like my old life or like the old things that caused me troubles because I just was in a good space. And now what I'm realizing is that the actual work that we need to be doing is within those triggers, traumas, within like the communities that we had been in. Not to say that like we need to live our lives in chaos and we need to be around things that are unhealthy, but I do think that there is some sort of a balance between figuring out how to deal with like the highs and lows of life and the highs and lows of maybe like certain relationships. And then also on the flip side, the other difference is completely avoiding the highs and lows and completely avoiding relationships that are challenging. And what I've been realizing over the past handful of months is that I need to personally be diving deeper into like what my triggers are, what relationships that may be an issue for me or have been an issue for me in the past, because I've been avoiding them, to be honest. I feel like now I have the tools to try to move through these different types of hurdles in more of like a graceful way. But I think that I have been like avoiding all of that stuff, and it's just it doesn't make sense. And honestly, I don't really want to live in a life where like everything in life is always beautiful and always amazing. Like I think that's what's beautiful about life is that we deal with highs and lows, and we deal with that with like all the relationships too. I mean, where you have like pain, you also have passion or pleasure. Where you have like sunny days, you have rainy days. Like everything is duality in our lives. And I think that what I am hoping to see from just like the healing community and people that are on spiritual journeys and people that are like looking for self-reflection, I'm hoping to see everyone kind of on that same vibe, that we can't just completely avoid the traumas and triggers that we have in our lives. And ways that I'm dealing with the triggers and traumas of my life is I'm trying to approach them with curiosity. If I find myself like feeling very irritated or overstimulated, or if I find myself like wanting to be combative, maybe in a specific relationship, or maybe I'm like very uncomfortable or unhappy in a certain location, like I'm actually trying to be inquisitive about why that is. I'm trying to ask myself, okay, where is this coming from? This isn't just simply, I don't like it here, or I don't like this person. There has to be something to it. So I firstly try to become very curious about why those emotions are coming up in me. And there's what's called somatic work. I haven't dove really deep into it, but I have seen others, and I have done a little bit of somatic work. But that's something that's really interesting that you can do, that you can actually observe your feelings within your body. And I think that's like a really cool first step to just being aware and like being more curious about like your triggers and traumas. Is like, do you feel it in like your stomach? Are your hands clenching? Do you feel like tingliness in your legs? Like really observing your body and like where those feelings are coming up from. But then once you're able to like identify those feelings within your body, I think the other piece of that too is identifying like, where is this coming from within like my mental headspace, my emotional headspace? Why is this coming up for me? Because oftentimes whatever like surface level thing that we think we're struggling with, whatever surface level like trigger or trauma we're dealing with, or whatever finger we want to point and say, well, like this person did this, or this location is this, and this. Oftentimes it's like much deeper than that. So I think that that's something that I'm really trying to observe right now is just like, okay, if I'm having a trigger or trauma, just being curious about it. Where am I feeling it in my body is probably like the first thing that I observe. The second thing that I try to observe is try to figure out like, where is this coming from? And like on a deep level, not just like very surface level. And I might do that, like I used to do that by journaling a lot. I would like pick up my journal anytime I started to feel like irritated or frustrated or sad or even happy. Like I would like pick up my journal. But now I'm getting to a place where like, if I sit with it for maybe an hour, if I'm like feeling like sad or frustrated, if I sit with it for like an hour, I typically can start to pull up just like through my mind and through my processing about like where exactly it's coming from. And, once I like observe it, once I reflect on it, then I just sit with it and I just allow my body, allow my emotions to process. Like if I'm gonna be sad, if I need to cry, if I need to like be angry, I sit with it and I allow that naturally to happen. And what used to take me maybe like, I don't know, what used to maybe take me like a week or a month to process my emotions of a specific trigger or a trauma when it was happening, now it might only take me like an hour or two to process it. And then once it's processed, I can move through it and move on. I think that something I just think is such a misfortune in like all of the self-healing, like self-reflective journey that a lot of people are on is that people are just trying to avoid their triggers and traumas, and like that's not the right thing to do in my opinion and my understanding. We're here to experience all of the feelings, whether them be good, bad. We're just here to like ride the wave, and yeah, we're just here to ride the wave, and we can't always have like good waves. Sometimes like they're shitty waves, sometimes they're amazing waves, but we're just here to ride this wave. So this is some things that I've been working on, is actually how to deal and like observe, reflect, and move through my triggers and traumas instead of just completely avoiding them. Because in the process of my journey, as I mentioned, I went like up a hill and wanted to stay up that hill. And I stayed up that hill as far as like feeling good, avoiding triggers, traumas. But now, as I mentioned in my other videos, like I think I am ready and I am wanting to dive back into like being around like all of the energies of a city and like not being out in like the middle of nowhere, like where it's like wonderful and peaceful. Like I'm wanting to experience all facets of life. That's where I'm at right now. And I think that this is actually the true time to see how much I've healed, how much work I've done, and also to get some more growth too. Like it's important. We can't just like live life without any type of issues at all. So I'm nervous, but I'm excited to dive back in. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to do a video about how I'm moving through my triggers and traumas, because I know that it's not easy, and I know that a lot of people just try to avoid it altogether. I know I've been that person before. So if you are personally like struggling with triggers or traumas and you're also trying to move through them, comment below. I want to know how you're moving through your triggers and traumas, because I know I'm not the only person who is like trying to move through them. I know a lot of people are just trying to avoid them, but I want to know, maybe you could be helpful to me about how you try to strategically move through those types of things. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.